Hello nerds, Nerds for Yang. This week we have a deep dive into the state of the race when it comes to money, fundraising. So second quarter Federal Election Committee filings were submitted by all campaigns, and so there's been some great work done in particular by the New York Times and the Center for Public Integrity. So I went over some of their reports as well as some of their charts and wanted to just highlight some of the ones that I thought were most interesting for the Nerd Nation. And this will tie in to the challenge we're doing right now, the Nerds for Yang 10K challenge, to get Andrew on this show. But before we go into why you should donate, let's just look at how we're doing and how the Democratic race is kind of unfolding in general when it comes to money raising, which is crucial for success in this election. So first one, this was a cool visualization done by the New York Times, and takeaway is we're kind of in the hunt. We're definitely not on the fringe. In fact, we're kind of on the upper part of the second tier in some ways, but there are some giants. Mayor Pete with 25 million in the second quarter compared to the Yang Gang putting in 2.8 million. Now, 2.8 million is actually more than most of the candidates running. The problem is we're not running to be number 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. We're obviously running to win this thing, and that's going to be a challenge if Mayor Pete's pulling in 25, Biden's 22, Bernie's 18, Warren's 19, Harris is 12, and then we've got Yang at 2.8. Now again, we're being really hard on the Yang because we want him to be a varsity player, but there's a lot of people who would love to be where the Yang Gang is right now. Takeaway is we got work to do, but we're definitely in the hunt. This next chart looks at how much money each campaign actually has left in the bank. So they may have raised a bunch of money, but they may have already spent a lot of it such that, they really need more. In terms of cash on hand at the end of the quarter, you'd love to be Bernie, Mayor Pete, Warren, Harris, Biden. They all have 10 million plus in the bank. Bernie's got a war chest of near 30 million. Mayor Pete's got 22 million. Warren's got 19.8. Harris has 13. Biden's actually number 5 in terms of how much money is left. And then Yang has 800,000. So yes, he raised 2.8 million, but by the end of the second quarter, probably a lot of that initial raise was already invested. And I think that's the way he's got to play it, because there's no point in raising money and just sort of squirreling it away if you're going to try and break away and get into the first tier of candidates. So he's kind of doing what you would expect him to do. He's kind of like a startup that's investing, early in the front end to kind of capture a market. But it does also raise the urgency and importance of all of us giving to the campaign. So if you've been supporting the campaign, even if you've already given in the past, we all need to do kind of the post-Rogan follow-up donation, because he's actually now really starting to gather steam. Like if you saw him on The View, I really think his performance and his ability to concisely explain his positions has really improved dramatically. Like he doesn't need these long wind-ups that he used to. Obviously the CNN debate is going to be huge. So if you've been thinking about giving, now's a great time, and I have just the program for you to do that, but let's not talk about that until the end of this video. The next chart looks at the burn rate, which is, how much of the money that the campaign has raised has already been spent. And again, this is an example where Yang has pretty much he gets the money and then he invests it. Now he's got to put it into staff. He's probably got like a debate prep team. He's got advertising, travel, printing up signs, paying rent. In a way, he's like a small business that has to keep paying a lot of bills, and a lot of bills are coming in. If you wanted to be anyone, you'd probably love to be someone like Bernie, who basically raised 46 million and has only spent 19. So he's got a lot of powder, dry powder, if you will, and he doesn't need to spend it all, because in a way, he's got to think about his long game, and he's already in that first tier, whereas Yang's really trying to kind of break through, and now is the time to do that. Because if Yang doesn't break through, let's say by the end of this year, certainly, in the next few months, there's no point in raising a lot of more money and having a bunch of money left over. Okay, so this next chart looks at how much of a candidate's money raised is coming from people who donated $200 or less. So this is sort of a really interesting measurement of the grassroots kind of organic, distributed nature of support. The opposite is if all your money came from people who are writing $5,000 checks and political action committees, you're probably not necessarily a candidate of the people. And it also exposes you to interesting incentives and potential conflicts of interest because you feel maybe more obligated to some of these big money raisers and bundlers and companies and organizations. So when you look at the percent of money coming from small donors, hat tip to Castro, Williamson, Bernie, but Yang is actually number 4. So out of the 24 candidates, he's actually in the top 5, frankly number 4, in terms of percent of money coming from small donors. So Tulsi, Warren, all kind of really good, organic candidates. So Bill de Blasio is the opposite. He's got 9% of his donors giving $200 or less. So 91% of his donors are writing big checks. Delaney, 75% writing big checks, only 25% small. Cory Booker, only 27% of his money is from small donors. Klobuchar, only 36%. Biden only 38%, Kirsten Gillibrand only 38%, and Mayor Pete, most of his money is coming from very large donations. So I kind of like where we are, not only because it means we have a candidate that isn't as beholden to a small handful of interests, it also means that our donor base can re-up. And over a long campaign, if most of the people are giving $20, $30, they probably give another $20, $30. Whereas if you're, let's say, Booker, and a lot of your people have given the maximum allowed by law, like $5,000 for the whole campaign or $2,500 or close to that for the primaries, they can't give anymore. And so where's he going to go if he can't broaden his source of capital? So that's really encouraging. This next chart is probably the most interesting one. This was done by the Center for Public Integrity, and it's going to look kind of complicated, but let me walk you through it. So along the bottom, from left to right, is estimated name recognition. So what they've done is they kind of lined up all the candidates from who is the least recognized, so that would probably be Gravel or Williamson, to all the way to the right, who are the most recognized, which would be Biden and Sanders. And then they plotted them vertically based on how much money they've raised. So on the bottom, you have the people that have raised the least money, like Gravel. And then on the top, you have the people that raise the most money, like Buttigieg. So what happens is when you look at both of these things simultaneously, how much name recognition do you have and how much money you raise, you start to see some interesting combinations. So if you look at this bottom right corner, this red boxy area, these are people who have a lot of name recognition and actually have not raised that much money. So this is not a box you want to be in. You don't want to be in this well-known but raised little, because basically that means everybody knows you, they've made their decision, they don't want to give. So if you're Booker, Beto, to some extent Gillibrand or de Blasio, you're kind of in a bad place. Now the opposite of that is the top left corner, this nice kind of forest green color, where you're not well-known, yet you've raised a lot of money. Nobody's in there. That would be magical if you could find a way to do that. And then there's the remaining quadrants on the top right, which is well known and raised a lot. And that's good because you've raised a lot, but it's expected because you are well known. And then the bottom left is the not well known and raised little. So what's interesting here is Yang is probably one of the people who, for their name recognition, has actually raised quite a substantial amount of money. If you compare him to, say, Gabbard is actually more well-known, but raised less money. Castro is way more well-known, raised less money. Gillibrand, even more well-known, raised less than Yang. De Blasio, more well-known than Yang, less money than Yang. O'Rourke, way more well-known than Yang, probably almost 50% more well-known, but only raised a slight amount more. Same with Booker. So pound for pound, you've got Yang as a candidate that's kind of punching above their weight class when you think about name recognition, which is super, 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 super encouraging. Because as Yang moves to the right and he gets more name recognition, and let's say after the CNN debates, we would expect him probably to start raising maybe more than 5 million based on sort of the proportion of recognition to money raised, which would be very exciting and start pushing us into this, kind of closer to Harris category, which is where we all want to be. And then eventually we go for the big ones. So let's say you've looked at all these charts and you're like, okay, I get it. Yang, he's scrappy, he's making it happen, but he needs some money. But with the money that he's raising, he's delivering like pretty good results. And now he's just pre-CNN debate and he's really an exciting time to get in and support the campaign. How can you do that? Well, there's a great opportunity for you. I don't want to sell like I'm selling Cutco knives or anything, but you can give to Yang 100%, and you can support the Nerds for Yang channel by helping us raise $10,000 for Yang. And when we do that, he is going to come on this show. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. So I will be able to ask him questions. Some of the questions I'm going to collect from the Nerds for Yang audience. So everybody wins. The Yang campaign gets the money. We don't get any of it. It's just for tracking. We get a cool guest on our show, which will likely make this channel grow even faster, which then allows us to spread the good word about Yang and math and policy and statistics and facts and reason and science, all because of your donations to the Yang campaign. Then Andrew gets to come on the show, and I don't know if that's a win for him, but maybe he'll like hanging out with us. So we are at over a third of the way there. We announced this Nerds for Yang 10K challenge, also known as Secure the Yang, only like a week ago. And as of this shooting, which is Wednesday, July 24th, we've raised $3,400. And we only need 10K, so we're a third of the way there after a few days. So there's a path for us to get to the 10K maybe in a few weeks. If you're interested, there's a link below to donate. It's at tinyurl.com/NFY10K. It's right here, and also a link underneath. That will take you to an Act Blue page that the official campaign made for us. And why that's important is if you give directly through the Yang website, then we don't get credit and then it doesn't go towards our 10K goal. If you give through this link, it still goes to the campaign, but then we get credit and we can say, hey, we hit the 10K. When's Andrew available to jump on and chat with us? Hope this was super helpful. Please share this video, like, comment. That also helps get the word out and help more people discover Nerds for Yang and then Andrew Yang campaign and movement in general. And I will see you guys next week, and I will be providing updates every day on this channel in the community tab. You can also follow me on Twitter at Nerds for Yang and then join the Facebook group. So we'll see you next week. In the meantime, Nerd Power.
Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah. I want 1,000 a month, 1,000 a month. I want 1,000 a month, 1,000 a month. Let's get this bread. Freedom dividend. Are all y'all paying attention? Automation gonna sweep the nation unless we get him in. Andrew Yang 2020 freedom dividend. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah. First we get this money, then on 420. He gonna give some high fives to some high guys. Decriminalize marijuana so we can smoke if we wanna. Down with the opioid trend, up with the mental health thing. Yeah. Math, yo, it's just math. Yo, it's simple math. Yo, can you do math? Yo. Eliminate super PACs, color stars making stacks. Student loan forgiveness plan. Cops wearing cameras and climate change is real again. Science rules. Teachers bringing home some bread. Medicare for every citizen. Andrew Yang 2020 freedom dividend. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang gang. Yeah, yeah.
Yo, a vote for anyone else is like negative $1,000 from your pocket every month.